anxious, wait.
Okay, good morning. Rachel from RJ Hockey. Today joined with 3 of my coaches and 2 guests, so Saskia, Millie and Jenny. Coach Eve West from over in Western Australia, and we are joined, special guest, by Madonna Blyth, the ex-Australian captain. Good morning. How are we all?
Good afternoon from Australia.
Good afternoon, evening.
Good evening. Going to have a little bit of chat with you, Madonna, ask you a few questions about your career, and then the coaches have got a couple of questions which I'm sure they'd love to ask you as well. Okay.
Sure.
I will dive straight in and ask you about your work ethic. So I did watch a clip on the internet and YouTube, and it really touched me because it was something that I always go by, like not asking anyone to do something if you're not prepared to do it yourself, and you're almost putting yourself on that pedestal and being the best that you can be so that everybody around you can be the best that they can be. And it really resonated with me. Could you just briefly, for those that haven't watched those clips, tell us about your work ethic all that time ago whilst you were playing for your country?
I think for me, it probably just came down to being really competitive, and I'm super competitive by nature. Sometimes it's a brilliant thing, sometimes it can go against you. But I always found that was the drive that I had, and I'm really passionate about sport, and I love playing hockey and love playing for my country. And I think I guess one of the things about the way that I tried to lead was about, not asking people to do what you wouldn't be prepared to do yourself. And I found that's how I tended to motivate, was by, I guess, having that drive and energy. And I just always wanted to be better. And I think that's one thing that's really important, is I knew that I wasn't going to be the best. I knew that I wasn't going to beat everybody or win every contest, but I think having that desire, I guess, to try and be the best, that kind of pushed me. And to play at a high level, you have to work hard, and it's something that is inbuilt in some people, and other people have to really work hard at it. And I probably went through stages of both, where I was always super competitive and wanted to do well, but you also have to learn how to work hard at times. And when it's not easy or it's not going to plan, sometimes your motivation can drop. But I always found that I wanted to compete, and I wanted to be that person that my teammates could kind of rely on when things weren't going great. So I guess that underlying drive and energy, even though at times was tough, that's the kind of style that I had. And to make it easier on my teammates, I tried to show them that, and I also tried to help them, I guess, create it, or help them improve in that area if they needed to. Yeah,
your determination just for everything showed. Or there was a clip I watched, I'm not sure which game it was. Do you remember diving to save a goal?
It could possibly have been against when we were in Belgium.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I guess that's the yeah. So I think it's probably only that one time, so it's probably that one. But yeah, I think that's kind of the expectation I had on myself. And plus, you do what you can for your team, and if that means diving to save something, or getting hit sometimes, or doing the hard yards and running and competing, that's what I expected of myself, and that's what your team expects of you. And when you have to do it, you just have to put your body on the line, and sometimes it pays off. And that was just probably one example where I got a little bit lucky and the stick hit the ball, and it saved a goal.
It was a phenomenal save. Like, guys, I don't know if you've seen that, but you need to watch it. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'll send you guys the clip, actually. Would you expect everyone else in the team to be, that like dive? People don't like to dive. It's something, I think, you've either got it and you don't care, or it's quite hard to teach. How many of the hockey roos we can just do this when you were playing with them?
It might not be fair, but I would expect that all of them would. It's part of representing your country, is that you put your body on the line, and I 100% agree. Like, it's really unnatural for some people, and it's a really difficult skill to teach. And that's why I think with if they're younger, you can kind of teach that diving and sliding and even rolling and things like that. The earlier you can teach that technique, the more natural it becomes. But trying to see people learn that skill, it can be quite difficult. But I think in the moment with adrenaline, your natural instinct is to just throw yourself at the ball. Well, it was for me. So rightly or wrongly, I would have expected everybody to do that. And whether they would have, I'm not sure. But I think there's a general expectation at that level that you'll do what it takes within the rules and everything to win the match. And if that means diving, then you dive.
It's something I definitely don't see it at the level that my team play, and I wish that they would do it, if I'm honest. Like, just, launch yourself, and you'd have made that ball. Come on, what's wrong with you? Well, that's true, right, Eve? Just throw yourself. Come on. You get a few.
I can't really vouch for that because I wouldn't. I'm definitely not too keen to dive around. I feel like I'll probably just hurt myself.
I definitely wouldn't have had a problem with it if I knew I was going to score a goal. I think, no, I won't go into that. It's not politically correct to talk about my country. Okay, good. Jenny, you're a forward. Have you dived for balls and things? Have you done that? Have you had to do that? And you play at Investec level. Do you see that in your game, or do we only see it in international hockey? Anyone?
I think we definitely, all the players put their body on the line. There's been quite a few kind of like jumping saves, that kind of diving, especially in the ones. But then I think even at our under-18s team, we kind of all just want to win and we want to do it for each other. So there is an element of kind of doing whatever we can to stop it, whether it's the ball hitting us or our stick or whatever. Yeah. I feel like even at under-18s level, everyone's still willing to put their body on the line. I think that shows kind of what a great sport it is, that it gets everyone kind of with the same determination just to win.
I'm going to make it one of my mission this season, when we eventually get back to hockey, to make sure that one of my team dives for a goal this year. They'll all be terrified now. How many injuries do you think you've had over the course of your career, Madonna?
I was pretty fortunate. I was really lucky. So I played for about 12 years, and I think I may have been rested for one tournament to give my body a break, but I was really lucky. I didn't miss months on end with injuries. I kind of had little stints here and there, but to be honest, I think I was really fortunate. I think I started when I debuted alongside one of my mates. We were the same age. We debuted on the same day. We retired within a couple of months of each other. And I think I played like 150 or more games than her, because she had 2 knee reconstructions and ongoing injuries. So I've always said it, I was extremely lucky in that respect. I had little things that keep you out for training or for some matches, but overall, I just didn't have any of those really big ones that take out 6 months or a year out of your training. So I was really fortunate in that respect, not to miss too many games through injury.
No, that's good. And maybe that's why you're the most cap player. Does that still stand? Do you still have that record?
It still stands for now, until one of the young ones come through and play more games. But I think it is. It's durability and, that passion to keep playing as well. Definitely, I always had that. And then my body luckily held up, I think, most of the time. So, really fortunate. Good
stuff. So, sorry, was it 340 something caps that you had for your country? Do you know?
342.
342. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's what you need to aim for, you guys down there.
Easy.
They're young enough to do it.
Easy. Definitely a lot of caps.
A lot of caps. You made captain at a really young age. What were you prepared for that role, or did it just happen? And talk us through your experience of being so young, captaining a massive team. Australia was one of the great teams. And how did that feel? What was your thought process? how, you know, being mentally tough enough to do that at that young age. It's quite an achievement. Talk us through some of your memories of that.
I think I'd captained like some of the underage teams and like my state teams and things like that. So I guess it was always potentially on the cards for that to happen. At 23 was unlikely, just given that, you know, you're in a team with players who have played a lot more games than you, who were up to 10 years older than me at the time. So I think I did fall into it a little bit. So after the Beijing Olympics, both our captains retired. And I was actually named co-captain, but she had to retire through injury. So it kind of was a little bit by default that I ended up probably sole captain when I did.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't think I was prepared in, I guess, the skill set that I probably was needing to have at that time. So it takes time to develop. And I think I didn't realise, like, leadership and captaining it is actually a skill you can work on. You know, when you think about hockey, you think about your fitness or your strength or your technical ability. But to be honest, like, leadership is a skill and it takes practice. So it took me a little bit of time, even probably up to a couple of years, to really find my feet. I always felt like I had the respect of the group, but to kind of lead how you want to lead and, you know, have really high standards and that kind of thing, it takes time, and it's difficult to be a leader and, you know, you have to be on all the time. You have to be at a very high standard all the time. You have to be able to call people out when they're not. And that was something I struggled with, in particular early on. So, yeah, it took a bit of time, but I was really proud and grateful to be named captain. And it was something that I tried to work on over the years that I captained.
What advice would you give to anyone watching, and especially these guys, if they were to be in that position where they could captain their country? What's your biggest piece of advice?
I think just to trust your gut. I think at times when you're a leader, you question things too much, or should I be doing this, or what if I'd said this? Like, trust your gut. You can fix it later. If I was always worried about saying the wrong thing, or, you know, not hitting the mark, so to speak. But I think if you're coming from a really honest place and you know, you're trying to do the right thing, it's hard to go wrong. And then, you know, for me, it was just about finding out who I was as a captain. You have a lot of people telling you things, or you've learnt off people who lead really well, but you find your own style. And I think it's much more natural when you're who you are. If you're true to what's important to you, and you live a certain way, and you're asking other people to live a certain way or act a certain way, it's got to be, I guess, true to who you are. And you can't try and be something that you're not. So it might be really different to someone that's captained you, or the other person that might be co-captain, or whatever it is. But I think just find your own style and trust your gut with most things. You'll get it right.
That's amazing. Did you have like a mentor? Did you have someone, you know, in your ear giving you, is there anyone that you like, you know what, I owe a lot of that to you, it was so helpful to me? Or is it like, you no help at all? Absolutely none. It's all myself. I've just sorted this out myself.
I think it's a lot of people. I didn't really have a mentor per se, but I had a couple of really key people who have coached me, or I've played alongside, or even like your family and things like that are crucial. You get a lot of information no matter what you're doing, whether it's at school or at sport or in life. There's so many people giving you advice, for lack of a better term, because sometimes it's not helpful, or they're talking a lot. But I think you just find the best in what you can. You could listen to 10 things and maybe you take 1 or 2 of them, and to the other 8 you say thank you very much, and you move on. But that's just life. That's not leadership. You know, it's just finding what and who will help you and make you better. Yeah. And then the people that aren't, then you just say thank you very much and move on.
Nice. I like that. Good advice, ladies. Yeah.
Very good advice. I think as well, just quickly going back to Madonna as like a leader, obviously having had the chance to play club alongside her, like you know, everyone knows that you've been like the most capped Aussie female player. And is it Aussie player in general, Donnie, or is it just female?
Hockeyroos. Hockeyroos.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And yet you still play Prem 1, and you still like go out and lead the girls out every weekend and stuff. And just I remember coming over and having like my first call up to come play ones and just being like, wow, this is pretty hectic. I've never played like anything this level before. And then just having you behind and just the calmness of just controlling the whole pitch. You just kind of know what you expect from the team, and there's no kind of like, that's not good enough or that's not good enough. You'll kind of tell us something's not good enough, but like in a good way instead of like a, you know, just a non-helpful way and stuff. And kind of just having that, like the encouragement and just the constant encouragement all the time. And just, yeah, I don't know, just the feeling that everything's kind of okay, and just the calmness that you bring to the pitch. Even just watching the girls, like the presence that you have on the pitch and stuff is pretty incredible. Yeah, just how you just stay calm and everything whilst you're playing.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think everyone has their skill set, and yeah, that's really lovely to hear, because it's very nice. I do lose my cool every now and then.
I might have the text actually when she plays. I'd have to go through. I'm sure.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, I think like everyone has their things, and for me it was about awareness and on the pitch. And I think now too that I've retired, you kind of realise that you can help in different ways. And for me, it's learning how to coach, you know, like, because that's a learned skill as well. So that adjustment from player to coach, and, you know, on the pitch, I try, even when I was playing, you try and coach while you're out there. And I always thought like one of my strengths was being able to read the game and see what's in front of me and control it, because like, I was never the most athletic or the most skillful and that kind of thing. But that was probably one thing that I was able, I guess, to set me apart from other players, was that awareness. And I wouldn't say calmness, because I'm probably not, I wouldn't sound super calm on the pitch, but
it does come out pretty calm.
Yeah, well, that's good to know.
That you've answered one of the questions there then about what you're doing now, coaching, playing. So you're player coach?
Yep. Yeah, for 3. This will be my 4th year.
4th year. And you're playing, so the top league over there is just Prem 1, is that right?
Yep.
So you retired from international hockey, but you're still playing at the highest level possible, rather, you know, not just not international. That's quite amazing. Like, to do that, must take quite a lot. You didn't think of giving up or just coaching? You wanted to keep playing, yeah?
Yeah, I think, look, when I finished, I wasn't sure in terms of continuing to play. But look, I love the sport, and I'll probably play for as long as I can, to be honest. And yeah, like, I think the thing is, and we're starting to see it a little bit more in Australia. I don't know what it's like around the rest of the world, but there's, I guess, a period of time where a lot of the elite women in particular stopped playing international hockey, and that was it. They were lost to the sport. And that's fair, probably, you know, a lot go and have families and what have you. But I think now we're starting to see a shift where the players are finishing up at international level and coming back to coaching and playing. And, you know, if they've had kids, their kids are coming through the sport now. So I think it probably wasn't a conscious decision. I wasn't sure when I finished. But when, I guess, Hale approached me to come and coach there, I thought, well, if I'm going to be coaching, I'd probably still like to be running around and competing. And I haven't quite let that go yet. So going into our 4th year there at Hale, and I still really enjoy playing and competing, and I find that I can learn and I can coach on the field is probably my style as well. So I think for another couple of years I'd like to do that, and then we see what happens. But while I still enjoy it and can contribute on the pitch as well, I'm happy to be out there running around.
Yeah, good for you. Would you play Masters hockey then?
I think I may have mistakenly said a couple of after maybe a couple of drinks after one of our games, I said to the ladies who play in our Hale Masters team, well, I think they called themselves the Turtles, so that probably is a fair indication. I think I may have promised that in 2 years I would run around with them, so we'll see how that goes.
That would be amazing.
I think I've heard this rumor.
Yeah, well, unconfirmed.
Just stepping back quickly in your career, you've obviously won quite a few medals, Commonwealth gold, I think 2 or 3 times. I'm actually pretty sure I was at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games with Wick Hockey Club. Eve, you were too young.
You would have, yeah.
was an
No,
adult.
I was in Spain, actually.
So I
So,
probably
yeah, I was on holiday.
actually watched that match. My memory, you know, I'm quite old now, so, but I definitely.
I think what happened was, didn't they go into like shootouts or something? Donnie, didn't you win? Didn't you score the winning goal in the shootout?
I'm glad you brought it up. Yes, I did. Thank you.
I just remember being like kind of hating you at that very moment in time and being like, what is this?
Penalty flicks or shuffles?
Definitely the shootouts now. Yep.
Yeah.
I think they're fairer. I think they're more entertaining.
Yeah.
I think the keepers are asked to do a lot more and they can have a lot more influence, which is great. I really enjoy them.
Yeah. I for some reason they've not filtered down into the lower sort of levels yet. It's still penalty flicks, which is always disappointing. But hopefully eventually we'll get there. So lots of medals. That one medal eluded you. How do you feel about that? Not make, you know, your Australian team not reaching an Olympic final, getting an Olympic medal. How does that feel? Just briefly, I don't want to go into too much detail because if it was me, it would really hurt. And I'm sure it's still probably a bit raw. And then the second part to that question is, do you think that the team now, maybe not this cycle next year, but definitely the next 4-year cycle, do you think they've got it in them to get there?
I think to answer the first part, it's really disappointing because obviously we play in a sport where we're lucky enough for it to be an Olympic sport. And so for us, that was always a goal. We were pretty successful. We played in World Cup finals, Champions Trophy finals, Commonwealth Games, things like that. But the one you really want is the Olympics. And I think, Rio, so the last one we lost in the quarterfinal and we just played really poorly. And that's the way that the quarterfinals format works. You know, you come up against a top 8 team, they're going to be really good. And we lost to New Zealand and they played better than us on the day, and you kind of live with that, and it hurts. But I think the first 2 Olympics, I think we were ranked maybe 4 or 5 in Beijing, and I'm not sure in London, maybe something similar. But, we missed out on playing for a medal by, I think it was 1 goal difference on both times. Any other Olympics, 10 points takes you through to the semi-finals. And, it's just one of those things. It's 1 goal here or there. You play slightly better on a given day across the tournament, and you're playing for a medal. So I think, it's heartbreaking. And when I look back at my career, I think it feels like a failure. It does. But then I think, gosh, like I've been to 3 Olympics. Yeah. If someone tells you that you're the 5th best in the world at something in whatever industry you're in, you go, that's not bad. But when you're in a sport and in a history of Australia where you're expected to medal and you're expected to compete and do well, it definitely feels like a bit of a failure. But look, and moving forward, I think the group they've got at the moment over the last 18 months have performed really well. So I think women's hockey in general, you probably take the Dutch out of that because they are probably historically over the last 10 years a class above everybody else and consistently win, even though they have been beaten at times. That next group of teams, they are so competitive, and if you don't play at your absolute best and you're playing number 2 in the world or number 10, you'll lose. So you need to be at your best every single day at the Olympics, and that's what makes it so hard and so great, is that you can't have a down day or you don't win a medal. So I think the girls, they're moving forward and they've got a really good group. And if they go next year to Tokyo, they'll have high expectations as well. And I think we've seen that at their best, they're capable of competing and winning a medal, but it doesn't take much for everybody else to think that too. There's probably 8 teams that go thinking they're going to win a medal. And it will just come down to how prepared they are and how they compete on the day.
Yeah. You can't control everything, can you? What do you
sadly no.
I wish. I'd be very rich. Here's the formula to control it all. What would you say? What would you say is the highlight of your career so far? Because you've still got a lot to do, a lot to go. So far, what is your highlight? Or your top 3 if you can't pick one?
I think you know, we live in a country where being able to call yourself an Olympian's really valued. So I'm really proud, and I guess in an individual respect, that's what, you know, you can say that you've competed. And I was lucky enough to go to 3 Olympics. So they are the highlight. It's a crazy environment. It's just one of those things that you have to see it to believe it, even if it's from, you know, the athletes village to this, the crowds, to all of a sudden, who no one knows who you are, to everybody riding, whether you're going to win or lose. It's something very different. Eve mentioned it before, but our Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, we were down 1-0 with 11 seconds to go, and we equalised and then won on shootout. So that's just a crazy wave of emotions. And, you know, that's definitely a highlight, because it just felt like a day that wasn't going our way. And then in 10 seconds, how quickly things can change. So, you know, and then won 2 World Cup silvers as well, which were brilliant experiences, playing in front of a massive crowd in Holland, with our men, who then went on to win the gold after us. I think just those memories and being away and traveling, hard to beat.
Some fantastic memories there that you'll treasure forever. And you can, you know, you're passing all that information on now that you're coaching. You're giving all that knowledge and experience onto the future. So that's really, really valuable. What's next for you then? What do you see the next 10 years looking like for you?
I'm unsure. I've been really lucky, actually. I'm working in cricket at the moment. So I'm working in women's cricket here in WA, and it's just one of those sports which is great. I mean, especially for the girls and the women, because it's now really developing. You know, we're lucky in hockey that it's pretty gender neutral, and you're about 50-50 in terms of participants, but also in terms of opportunity. And but in a sport like cricket, where in Australia and in England and a few other countries, it's massive, but it's massive for the men. It's now seeing that shift. And, you know, we had 85,000 people at the MCG to watch the final of the T20 Women's World Cup. Like, that's unheard of, having 85,000 people watching a women's game. You know, so I'm working in that now, and I'm really enjoying it. And I see myself there for a while, but it's like, I'll always see myself in sport in some way, shape or form, but being in cricket is definitely different. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
That's really good. Saskia, you play cricket, don't you?
Yeah.
No, brilliant.
Guys, has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask? Who wants to go first? Saskia, you go first, seeing as you're already.
What was like your biggest challenge, like throughout your career, like, or something that like a rock in the road, like, but then you like kept going through it?
Good question.
I think there's probably a few little things. Like, I was really lucky. There wasn't, like I was saying before, like a lot of people, you know, that play sport come back from like a big injury, or they've had to be really resilient in some ways. And I think for me, it was just a few different things. So when I first started, so I'm from Brisbane, which is about a 5-hour flight away from where I live now in Perth. And the Hockeyroos and the Kookaburras, the men's team, are based in Perth. So I left home when I was about 18 or 19, moved to live in a completely different city. I didn't know anybody. So for me, that was a real challenge, was, I guess, not having like my family or my friends, or and kind of just, you know, packing it all up and moving to Perth to have a go at hockey. And like, I wouldn't change it. And I knew that was one of the things I had to do. If I wanted to be good at hockey, and I wanted to play for my country, then I had to move to Perth. So I was willing to do it, but it's quite challenging, I think, being by yourself so far away from home when you're only 18 or 19. So that was one thing. And then probably just other times, as my career went on, just trying to battle, I guess, things like poor form, or not feeling like you're good enough at different moments, and how that can impact you. And I think, to be honest, like, it shouldn't probably be normal, but for me, like, always feeling like you should be better or wanting to be better was normal. But when it impacted you where you didn't think you were good enough, that's probably where it became quite difficult. So you kind of had those challenges where I might have been challenged by a coach or someone externally to be better, and it doesn't feel good, but how you're able to then respond and rebound. And I always got a little bit angry and then even more determined. So that was the way I kind of responded to things like that. And it's not pretty to hear, and it's not fun, but does it make you better? Then you kind of go, it's probably worth it.
Good questions. I guess you guys, you know, we're such a small country compared to lots of these other countries that, you know, you guys can be in London in 2-3 hours easy, quick car journey. You don't have to leave home to go and like get your dream. You're quite lucky there, aren't you? I don't ever think about that because we're so small. And I guess that's for quite a lot of the countries, you know, the Netherlands, the same situation. If you want to be good at something, you need to move away from your family to where the central program is. Wow. Yeah, that's something to think about. Fair play. Anything else, Sass?
Like what inspired you to start hockey?
I think it was I was saying before, I was like a super competitive kid. So I think my parents were probably just like, oh God, can we get her into a sport where she can kind of channel it? But my mum and her family grew up around hockey fields. So even when I was little, I was always out watching her play or someone in the family. So it was really natural for me to start with hockey. And like, whilst I probably did other sports when I was a kid and, you know, at school, you kind of try everything. Hockey was just number one from the start. As a kid, I was like, the only thing I want to do is play hockey for Australia and that kind of thing. And I think just from when I started when I was 5, that was it. I was like, yeah, this is the sport for me. And well, you know, nearly 30 years later, still trying to run around and play. But yeah, it was just family and friends. And then once you're in. I think with hockey, it's one of those great sports that you're able to play a long time and you have your family there or your friends there. And yeah, it's just, I think it was a team sport. And once I picked up my hockey stick, that was it.
That's good. Anyone else got a question? Here she comes, Jenny.
My question is just, as a captain, how do you kind of help the team through a big loss, or like when you get to a final or something and you don't win, how do you help the team through that?
Yeah, it's a good question because often when you win, you feel really good for the team, like, and the team's up and about and everyone's happy. But when you lose, you almost feel a bit lonely in that, or you feel everyone kind of goes their own way. So it was really difficult because I hate losing, like even like games at training, like I hate losing. And I think that's okay. Like I used to get a little bit frustrated when it didn't seem to bother people that we were losing or something would go wrong. So I think the first thing is to accept that everyone treats it a little bit differently. So some people need to laugh after a loss and some people need to get a bit angry. But it's also always, I guess, important at some stage to bring the group together. That might be straight away. It might be the next, for us, you know, we see each other every day at training. It might be the next day or that evening. But I think it's really important at some stage to get everyone together, and then there's always something to look forward to, right? So whether, even if it's a grand final, there's, you know, next season, or there's something that you're going to do as a team. So it's about how do we then refocus back to what our next thing is. So if we're in a tournament and we have a really bad game and we have to get up and play again tomorrow, it's how quickly can we refocus? And it's not ignoring the loss. It's not saying it didn't happen. It's just, let's acknowledge it. Let's get out whatever we need to get out, come back together. And what are we doing next? A, to fix it, B, to learn from it, or C, to make sure that we don't do it again tomorrow or next week or next year. So as hard as it is sometimes, and you don't always want to be all together, it's important just to quickly together, let's talk about what we learned, and then what we're going to do with step moving forward.
That's a good point, Jen. Talk about what we learned, not what we did wrong. I like that. Remember that. Anything else, Jen? Have you got any other questions?
Just kind of, what do you do on the morning of a match? When you wake up, what are the kind of steps you take until you actually get on the pitch?
Yeah, I'm not super routine, even though a lot of athletes will say to have a good routine. For me, when I was playing kind of international stuff, it was more about just trying to stay relaxed for as long as possible, because I get a bit edgy and a bit nervous. And I think if that starts to spread over hours, over a day, then you kind of get a bit knackered by the time you get to the game. So even for club now, I guess there's always an element of, you know, what you're eating and what you're drinking. I mean, I love coffee, so I need to at least schedule 1 or 2 coffees in there somewhere. And then I do like to think a little bit about the game, and especially now that I'm coaching, I'll think more about what I want to say or the way we want to play. But when I was playing, it was about, more about thinking about the things I want to contribute or how it would go. I did learn to try and stay away from like the what ifs, because I was shocking. I was like, even on the pitch, I was like, okay, what if they score? What if we don't score in the next 5 minutes? What if this happens? Like, you just can't control that. So trying to stay away from that, having a think about it, not ignoring the fact that you're nervous or playing a game. And then we're really lucky at our club. There's always a game on the hockey pitch. So once I used to get to a ground, I actually like just to watch and not think too much, but just watch and enjoy a game. We got girls in our team that will just rock up and in the change room ready to go. Whereas I kind of like to get there a little bit early, relax, sit in the sun for a bit if that's what's there, watch the game, and that's how I relax. And then, like always just having a bit of a plan of, I guess, what I want to say to the team and what we want to get out of the day.
That's good. That's really good advice. That is good advice. Millie, have you got any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. So you've played hockey in different countries, have you? Yeah.
Yep.
So how is it different from playing in Australia?
Very different wherever you go. So I haven't played a club season anywhere else, so I can't really speak for the club setup. But in terms of internationally, I've probably played in, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 countries. And it's just different. I mean, I was really lucky. My first trip to Argentina, where they love hockey and they love their women's hockey in particular. I was in shock. Like, I was just like, this is so weird. Like, no one normally knows who you are, and yet in Argentina, you could be walking down the street and they would know that you play hockey for Australia, or you play hockey for England, or you play hockey for Holland. Like, it's insane. And to me, like, that was really foreign. I was like, someone's yelling at me about something, and but they're super passionate fans. And then, similarly in Holland, where they probably also have big crowds and people who are very knowledgeable about the game. But in Australia, like, no one really follows hockey that much, and which I think is a good thing. Like, I would hate to be in a sport where you're world famous and everyone knows your business. But it does vary. And Australia loves sport and they get behind their teams, but you're also playing a sport that not many people know too much about. So it varies around the world. I think we're lucky in Australia, the opportunities we get to play sport and how supported we are to do that for a living or to represent your country. Because a lot of countries don't have that support, generally speaking, but the experience from country to country just varies so much.
Anything else, Millie?
Maybe just how do you cope with your nerves?
It's a good question, because I think everyone battles it at different times. I get very used to, and I still get nervous now, to be honest, like for club hockey even. I think it's just part of wanting to do well and wanting to succeed, is that if you want something, then you're going to have a little bit of nerves or anxiety around how you're going to go in it. And I think it was the same when I was playing for Australia. Like, I wanted to do well, and I wanted our team to do well, and everything to go fine, and to have all these things that you've got absolutely no control over, really. So I think it's just learning, I think, that it's normal. And I know that's really basic advice and it sounds really simple, but for me, as I got older, I learned to acknowledge that that's how I was feeling. Like, even as simple as just going, oh my God, I feel sick in the guts, or I'm a bit edgy, or I'm yelling at someone because they're annoying me. Like, it's going, why am I doing that? Okay, I'm a bit nervous about today. That's okay. And then trying to just acknowledge it and move on. Happens on the pitch. So often I had to take the shootouts, and I would find myself in that moment right before, like, sick in the guts, high elevated heart rate, super nervous. And, in the lead up, like, feeling those things, but being able to just go, that's normal. Like, if I was standing out here in front of all these people with the chance to win the game or the chance to lose it, like, it's normal to feel really nervous. And then being able to bring it back, for me, that was just like controlling my breathing and even just saying stuff to myself, and whatever works for you. Like, it's almost that, I'm not big into it, but like that mindfulness stuff, like, I'd be out in the middle of the pitch about to take a one-on-one, and I'd think about my breathing, and I'd slow it down, and then I'd think about what I wanted to do, and I'd set that up in my mind, and then I'd think, like for me it was my feet and my hands, so I'd be like, can feel the stick in my hands, feet on the ground. And if you're thinking about those things, you're not thinking about making an error, you're not thinking about stuffing it up, you're not thinking about missing a goal, you're literally thinking about your breathing and your feet and your hands. I mean, it could be anything, it could be, I don't know, but that's what it worked for me. And that all of a sudden I stopped thinking about all the things that could go wrong, and I just thought about the things that I had right there. And that definitely helped me at times, because I am a nervous, I guess, athlete. Like I got really nervous before games and on the field. And as soon as you learn that that's normal and you can recognize it, and then having something to help you cope, and whether that's breathing deeply or feeling your feet on the ground or whatever it might be, you don't have time to think about all the things that can go wrong.
How important do you think the mindset and the mental side and the mental toughness and confidence, visualization, all that kind of thing, how important is that now to the modern game and these young athletes, those extra things that they maybe need to do or start doing to get them to that top level? How important do you think that is now?
I think it's really important. If you had to ask me day one of being a hockey-roo, I would have, she'll be right, don't have to think about it, but I think it's crucial. You look at any of the top athletes in the world, you ask any of them, tennis, hockey, football, whatever it is, they talk about their mental game. You talk about athletes, you talk about their skill level, but 9 times out of 10, you're talking about how brilliant their mind is, how resilient they are, how mentally tough they are, how good they are under pressure. And those athletes are your absolute great athletes. You've got good athletes representing their country, but the absolute elite just have something that makes them different. And I think that's their brain, and how they operate. And for some people, it's about being calm under pressure. Other people, it's about just having that absolute single-minded determination to win and be the best and compete. But I think now the skills that you can learn to have that mental edge on your opponent, but also being happy and healthy in your own mind as well, makes such a big difference. And I don't think it has been the focus, going back years and years and years, but now I think we're seeing different ways of doing it. And I definitely think, your attitude, yes, you need to have that on point, but also how you bounce back and how you think, and things like that are skills now, and they're skills that you can develop, and they're skills that you can learn, and it should be part of your team, and it should be part of you as an individual. So your fitness, your technical work, your tactical work, but also your mental resilience and your mindset and your approach, it just makes such a difference. And I don't think you can almost put a number on it, but overall it will give you such a huge edge. And I didn't focus on it at all at the start of my career, and I wish I had applied a bit more attention to it. So if you're not sure, I think it's just one of those things, give it a go, find what works for you, because not everything works for everybody, but there'll be something that clicks for you, and hopefully will make you that bit sharper and a bit stronger.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. I'm a massive advocate of the mindset stuff. I think that completes the package.
Yeah.
My last question, unless anyone else has a question, is if you're asked by Hockey Australia to go in and coach the national side, is that something that is in the back of your mind? Because then you'd be a coach for the Olympic medal.
No, look, I'm not nowhere near equipped to coach at that level, that is for sure. So I would happily travel around the world and watch them play and give moral support and mentor and things like that. But coaching a team of that quality, no, I'd like to say yes, but I don't think that I have anywhere near the skill set required for that one just yet.
Just yet. Do you hear that?
Oh, wow.
You heard it here first.
Breaking news.
Oh, no, here we go. It's good. Everyone, anyone got anything they want to ask before I wrap this up? We're good. Yeah, we're good.
I was just going to ask, when things just aren't going how you want them to on the turf sometimes, is there like anything you do when you come off, when you sub off, just for those couple of minutes before you go back on? Is there anything you do just to kind of check back in with yourself and just, I don't know, how does your brain work when things just aren't going right on the turf?
yeah, I think sometimes just removing yourself for a minute. So normally when you come off, you go for a walk or whatever, to just cool off or warm down a little bit, or even during a match, just to stretch your legs. And I think that's my moment just to calm down, because I think what happens is when stuff's not going right, everything gets a bit elevated. So you get a little bit, well, I get a bit cranky, a bit angrier. I think everything's going wrong when it's not. Like, it's not. Some things are probably going wrong, not everything. So it's a moment to kind of step back and go, is it as bad as what I think it is? Probably not. It gives me that moment to calm down. But then I like to then go and check in with someone just to get a bit of a feel, because who's to say what I'm feeling is right either? Yeah. Like, I might just be having a really bad game. Everybody else thinks it's going brilliantly and they're having a great time. So who am I to say that I know exactly what's going on? So I always then like to check in. And it might be with another coach. It might be with one of the other senior girls in the team. And so I often check in and be like, am I like really off here? Like, am I right? Like, what do you think? And sometimes just being able to talk about it is enough of a fix for you to kind of calm down. And then again, coming back, all right, well, what's a plan? Like, we might be getting beaten 4-0. We're probably not going to win the match, but what are we going to get out of it? What's our plan? It might be just to get a good workout, run as hard as you can and feel like you've contributed physically to the game. And other times it's, you know, you might be 1 goal down and you think you can get back into the match. It's about then having a plan. So yeah, definitely calm down, check in with someone, and then having a plan to go back out and perform.
That is very, very good advice for a lot of people. I see lots of youngsters getting quite upset and they come off and they're very upset with themselves. So that will resonate with lots of people. Does that resonate with you, Eve?
Yeah, it does. I'm sure I've probably had a few conversations with Madonna. Anyway.
And I've only seen it from someone once, where you're convinced that you weren't playing very well, and I'm like, mate, you're like a wizard with that stick. You're fine. You just scored 4 goals. Yeah. You just, game for the team. Absolutely fine. Get back on the pitch. That's brilliant. I can't thank you enough. I've actually learned quite a lot from this interview, because I'm coaching now and I'm trying to be the best coach that I can be for my team. So I've learned a lot from this, and I'm definitely going to watch this back, and I might even get my to watch this like in a social and just take some advice from you, because you've really spoken some very wise words today. So thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure having you here. And to everyone watching, if you've got any questions, try and get them to me, and I'll try and get them to Madonna or to Eve to ask Madonna, and I'm sure she'll try and get back to you. Okay. So thank you very much. We will be back again next week for another chat with maybe another superstar, and if not, it'll be just us coaches talking all things hockey. Thank you.